All right. So, Sir Aimezing. Do I call you Sir or just Amazing?
Whichever one makes you feel better.
You're good. You're flexible. Okay. So let's talk about, tell me about where you're from, where you grew up. I don't even know what part of the country you're in. I think it's Atlanta, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I have somewhat of a memory. I'm losing it sometimes, but and then we'll get into what you're doing now, but let's go back a little bit.
So I was originally from Buffalo, New York. That's where I was born and raised. Just moved to Atlanta summer 2020, and
Perfect timing.
I don't. Yeah, it's pretty good timing, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. Ask me specific questions, and I feel like I could give better answers.
Yeah. Well, so how did you end up in Buffalo, first of all?
Well,
It's like
for
beautiful
some reason,
Buffalo, let's go to Buffalo. I met a guy from
uh,
South Africa. He's in Buffalo. I go, how in the world did you end up in Buffalo? Well, he met this girl and she's from Buffalo. Well, that made sense. So how'd you end up in Buffalo?
the creator, he's made these two humans, one named Aimé, the other one named Monique. Those being my parents. They
Okay.
met, they had me, and that's where I was born.
And
So,
they were in Buffalo, I guess, right?
yes, sir.
You don't know how they got to Buffalo?
So my dad is originally from Democratic Republic of Congo.
Okay.
So
Right
he
near
came over to
Buffalo.
this, right?
Right.
It's so
Right.
close, right?
Yeah. Closer to South
uh,
Africa, what I just told you. Yeah.
exactly, literally.
Right.
So he came over to the States, I want to say the early 90s. My mom is originally from Niagara Falls, New York.
Oh, that's right there.
And
Sure.
yeah, so that's right there. So, who knows what happened back in 93 or 92, whenever it was. I was
Right.
born in 93, so it was 92, I guess.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. That was the year I graduated law school. So you make me feel
Oh,
old.
wow.
Yeah.
It's all mental.
All right. All right. So, but you just moved to Atlanta. So what were you doing in Buffalo for the last 20 some odd years? More than 20
Breathing.
years, 30 years, just breathing. That's good. Breathing's always good. People say, what's the
That's good.
matter? I'm trying to breathe. Yeah.
Gotta get the air.
Yeah.
Nah, so there's a lot,
Yeah.
honestly.
Okay. Let's go
I
back.
went
I
to
want to hear the whole story.
Buffalo, New York is where I was born and bred. I did a lot of community work there. Went to school not too far from Buffalo at St. Bonaventure University.
Okay. Sure.
I'm still a part of a lot of different organizations. So I'm a part of the Buffalo Association of Black Journalists because my
Okay.
bachelor's degree
Good.
is in journalism and mass communication.
Great.
I
Okay.
am a member of the NAACP chapter out there. So my last event in Buffalo before moving to Atlanta was we held an event where we gave out masks, but we also had the census on site so people get their census information filled out and everything. And it
Right.
was a voter registrations because in New York State, the primaries, I believe, are June 23rd. So we had an event June 5th, and I also did a book signing at that event. So I do some things with the NAACP. I'm a
Nice.
part of the Buffalo Urban League Young Professionals, which because of COVID, I really wasn't able to be as active as I would have liked to have been this
Right.
year because there's a few events that we were organizing. Um, I'm part of a few different networking groups within the city. And then also, like I said, I did a lot of community work. So the big community center for me that got me started in the volunteer world is Johnny B. Wiley Sports Pavilion, which is pretty historic. That's
Okay.
where the Buffalo Bills used to play back in like, I don't know, the 60s, way before I was born.
Okay.
Um, but that's really the first major volunteering event I did was 2 years ago was it was Veterans Day breakfast or Veterans Day dinner, but yeah, for Thanksgiving. So from there, we did the Veterans Day event. We did a holiday event around Christmas time. We did a New Year's Day breakfast where we were able to feed 300 people in the community totally free to start off 2019. We did, which is an event I organized was honoring Dr. King from a youth perspective, where we had 5 to 7 different youth organizations. Some did poems, some did a dance, some did a song, all all different ways of honoring Dr. King. And then we wrapped it with a pillar in the city, Brother Clifford Bell, who is 90 years old. I think he's born in 1929 as well. But he was the person who organized this great statue that was built for Dr. King back in the 80s, raising over $250,000 to do that. So he was the keynote speaker of that event. We did some other events though. So I've done a lot of emceeing, hosting events, a lot of
Social
community
action,
work, and a lot of work
basically.
with youth.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So you had so much going on in Buffalo. What made you come down to Atlanta?
Well,
Not
the irony
coronavirus. It's worse down there. Yeah.
The irony of it is that it was kind of always predestined for me to be here.
Okay.
When I finished undergrad 5 years ago, my dad said to me that he wanted me to come down here, stay with him for a couple years, and then buy a house down here. And at the time, I was like, I don't really want to own a home, Dad. Like, I don't really. Home ownership is great. It's an asset building. But at the time, I was just thinking like, there's a lot of upkeep that I know comes with the home. If
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
breaks down, you either got to pay for it or you got to fix it.
You know, it's funny. All the guys of your generation, it's not like the American dream. You should own a home. It's not like that. People more millennials and even younger than you, they're like, yeah, what do we need a home for? Yeah, it's just
It,
different. It's a different mindset, you know?
now it's like I'm focused in. I definitely have that on my list of goals just because of asset building and understanding the different financial freedom that can come from owning a home. But at age 22, when I was thinking about, I remember I grew up in a single parent home. So stuff broke down in the house all the time with my
Right.
mom. Like
You
I
got to fix
remember
it.
things, you know what I mean? It's
Right.
kind of like you got to make things work. And even in past relationships where I've been there in the wintertime when the heat cut off and the electricity went out, like, okay, what we gonna do? Christmas is in 2 weeks. And everybody's
The
funds is
winter
kind of
time's
tight
cold.
around that time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
So your
but
dad's in
yeah,
Atlanta. That's what brought you down there.
yes, sir. Yes,
Got it.
sir.
Got it. Okay. All right. So, you're going to get as involved in the community in Atlanta that you were in Buffalo, you think?
I mean, that's the plan.
Yeah. It's a little hard right now, right?
Corona has its pros and cons. When I think about some aspects, um, I'm a mover and shaker, and I would love to been able to maximize the networking opportunities down here through the last, what is it? It's October. I moved back in June, so the last 4 months, 4.5 months I've been here. But at the same time, because of Corona, I'm able to do this podcast with you.
Yeah,
So
we met. Right. Exactly. I'm up in Jersey. We wouldn't have met. I met people
exactly.
all over
So
the country. Yeah. 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 So, um, and you also, I guess, have a job. You got to work, right? So you're working down in Atlanta?
so
Or not right
technically,
now?
no, I don't really have a job. I really work
No?
for myself. Um,
Yeah. You wrote a
but
book, you
right,
said, right?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So I have the book, and right now I'm in school as well. So decided to go back for my master's. I'm in my second year for
Very
a
nice.
degree in creativity, change, and leadership. But I'm
Okay.
also right now I'm putting together a big time I don't want to say big time, but a documentary on healthy masculinity.
Okay.
So that's really where my focus has been.
Is that for the Black community or is it more of a general?
It is. So
That's the focus.
the project started. This is an interesting story. So 2 years ago,
Okay.
you wanted to hear background. So two
Yeah.
years
Want to
ago,
hear it all?
I was 25 years old. I got a job as a supervisor for one of the top manufacturers in the world. Excuse me. So I'm making in Buffalo, New York, at age 25, making 50 plus K.
Okay.
It's
A
a
lot of
solid
money when
little.
you're 25.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You know what I mean? It's a solid start.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting fired in September of 2018,
Okay.
and it was one of the lowest lows of my life. And I just remember going through that experience, and I'll never forget. My car broke down on Main Street. I was at the time I was the woman I was dating. We weren't together. We were like kind of on the outs. My car breaks down. The axle breaks right in the middle of Main Street. Cop
Jeez.
pulls over,
Right.
tries to help me push it, and we can't move it at all. And I just remember feeling
Yeah.
like,
Your
oh my
axle
gosh,
breaks. You can't roll the car.
we can't do anything.
Right.
And I remember in that moment, it was the lowest I ever felt as a man
So
because I
you had
felt like
just gotten fired and you were like heading home and you're like, what
this is
else could
this
go
is
wrong today? Right.
this is like it wasn't the same day, but it was like in the midst of it. So me getting fired in September, this happened like maybe the end of the month, first week of October,
Okay.
right? Where I'm kind of figuring out, and the irony of masculinity and how it plays into it was the reason why me and my uh partner at the time, the reason why we weren't together is because I didn't tell her. I didn't for about 2 or 3 weeks, I was so embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. Like,
Was it something you
why?
did or was the company just cutting back or was there no reason?
Uh, it was a situation where I was a title head there wasn't really action that I could take. So technically, somebody who I was supervising had more leverage. They had more security than me.
They got you fired
Union, yeah, basically, yeah. So like union situation was, it's easier to cut me off than it is to cut one of the workers off.
because they're
So
union.
because they're in a union, so that's how the situation went.
Right.
But so that was to go back to that day and just thinking, like I remember trying to get in. She had me blocked. I remember I'm going in AutoZone, like I just use the phone. I'm calling, like, please just like send Geico to me real quick. She's not even picking up the phone, and I just remember being, this is the lowest I felt as a man, because one thing I've learned in my experience is that, especially when it comes to men, and even more especially when it comes to Black men in the United States of America, it's not about who we are; it's what we can offer. So at that time, I
That's
feel
an
like I couldn't
interesting
offer.
comment. Yeah.
I feel like I couldn't really offer much. If I'm not
Right.
making money, then how can I help anybody? And I go through that day and go through the experience of trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. And I made a decision. I said, if I'm going to work for anyone, I have to have direct contact with youth. Like I want to
Okay.
have direct
You want to make
contact
an
with youth.
impact.
Want to make an impact. And just in the midst of networking and going and just thinking back, like I'm coming to these events in a blazer, and hi, my name is Aimé, aka Sir Aimezing, and it looks like I got everything all together. And I'm broke really at that
Yeah.
time.
Well, you don't have to tell
And
anybody that.
you don't, but it's
Fake it
like
till you make it.
right? It's so ironic because in some
Right.
cases they say fake it till you make it. Some cases people say be honest. But in the midst of that, I met someone who I ended up getting an interview to do a per diem job. And this
Okay.
per diem job was a partnership with Cornell University that was going to
Ah,
allow
I
me.
am a Cornell graduate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you really
Yeah.
appreciate this. So it's based on a research project that was really trying to prevent domestic violence, rape, a lot of things within the inner city, especially.
Okay.
So this program was going to allow me to survey 12 to 14-year-old young men in the inner city, which mostly were kids that looked like me, on healthy masculinity. And
Was this
that
like
was
a
like
graduate research project? Is that what it was? Somebody in the graduate school or something like that?
something
Something
like
like
that.
that. But it was a research project. They were
As a,
researching to publish the data or whatever. Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
So from that program, it ended up turning into a full-time gig, I want to say in March. But it was aligned with the mission, and it's so ironic because it was per diem. So if school's out,
It's
that means
over.
there's no work.
Right.
That's no
Right.
work for me, right? And going through that process of just learning and reading more and really starting to work on myself to see how I could be a better service, while at the same time still being able to cultivate relationships and have that interaction with students. Um, I mean, wow, in retrospect, it is pretty amazing
Yeah.
because
Well, I'm going to ask you
the
how you came up with your name, but we'll get to that later.
we're gonna get to that one. So from there, we basically did that project. So we did that project for about 2 years,
Yeah.
and in May of 2019, I pitched the idea. I'm like, what if I did a documentary or a mini docu series on this project, just kind of like having the facilitators, because I
Right.
forgot to mention that part, and site coordinator. So there was the survey portion, but then there was also schools where there were facilitators would go to them, and they would have
Okay.
10 sessions with these young men, and really it's just creating a safe space, going over masculinity, just creating an opportunity for
Like
boys to speak their
group
minds.
therapy sessions or individuals? No, groups.
Groups.
Yeah.
So it'd be about, you figure, anywhere from 5 to 15 boys in one group,
Right.
right? So, but just having that space, which is so essential. And I pitched this idea in May of 2019, like, yeah, what if I did a docu series retelling the story from the facilitator's perspective, and it gets approved. And I remember October of last year, I think I got the note word that it was approved, but it wasn't a lot of action. Fast forward, because it was a 2-year project too. So it was scheduled to be completed in June of 2020.
Okay.
Fast forward, and school gets,
Yeah. Everything got
COVID
derailed.
happens.
Yeah. Cornell closed too. Yeah. Right.
Everything happens,
Yep.
right? And so we're not able to finish the survey portion. And then situations like Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd,
Right.
Uh, Breonna
Breonna
Taylor's not a
Taylor.
man,
Yeah.
but these situations happen in the midst of it. So when I have a conversation with um, the research team in the summer, I say, you know what, I have a new idea based off everything that's happened. So the idea was instead of just simply talking from the facilitator's aspect, what if I tie this to, because one of the biggest things that stood out to me within the midst of all of this was George Floyd being on the ground, knee to his neck, and he's screaming out for his mother. 50-year-old man screaming for his mother. And all that kept coming to me is, how does that tie to masculinity? So I pitched a new idea and I say, what if I did a documentary that highlights and really creates a commentary on healthy masculinity for an African American man?
Okay.
And they believed in the vision because this is partnership with Cornell
Because the
and
survey
New York State
wasn't
Department of
just
Health.
for Black men. It wasn't, right? Right.
It,
Just a
it,
general,
technically,
it
it
was
wasn't.
general
It was
research.
general research
Right.
in the inner city. So by the numbers, it's more of us in the inner
Because of the
cities
end,
that
right.
were taking this
Right. Because the
boom, right?
demographics. Yeah.
So, but because of that, that kind of tied in everything. And then just me being who I am and me have been a facilitator and me going through different experiences and not even those moments of being out of work and feeling like, man, there's no safety net for me.
Right.
There's no space where I can comfortably say. I don't when that happened, I didn't even tell my dad that I got fired. I didn't even
No?
tell him that I was out of work. No, I was too pride, shame, just there's and this is one of the biggest things that has inspired. There's not a lot of vulnerability. Excuse me. There's not a lot of space to be vulnerable.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Any men, we're like taught to, certainly in the inner cities, it's even harder, right? Because you got to be tough and you got to be this and you got to be that. And sometimes you don't, you didn't grow up with your dad, so you don't have a father figure, stuff like that. And it's not just Black or white or Hispanic, but it's definitely low income, right? More troubled situations. And I think we're like the certain expectations that are put on us. I'm 53, so it's different. But when I was 25, I felt the same way. I mean, there's a lot of depression amongst young men, and you don't even know what depression is. You just think like you feel bad about yourself and you're supposed to be doing certain things, but that's not really true. You just think that you're supposed to be doing certain things. Like if you told your dad you were embarrassed, your dad would be like, I've been through that. I got 50 friends that have been through that, because that's what life happens. But you don't know that when you're a teenager or in high school or you're 25. You really don't know. And I mean, shit, I probably didn't know when I was 40 because it takes a long experience to go through stuff and then realize that other people went through stuff and doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be so tough. That doesn't make you, masculine. So, I mean, it's a lot to be said that you recognize that.
I mean, literally, like we're all going through it, and with I think within the light of everything that has occurred in 2020,
Yeah.
I was like, this is the perfect opportunity. So now it's shifted to three different parts. And the first part is the facilitators and the site coordinator talking about the pros and the cons of the program. The second is I interviewed some different influencers within the health. It's three different people. One is a health enthusiast, fitness coach.
Okay.
One is a relationship healing coach. The other one, he runs a big page that's been growing, the Black Millionaires page. So talking about those different aspects, but the healing in relationships, the fitness portion of masculinity, and then the financial
Right.
portion as
Success.
well.
Yeah.
And then the third episode is it's really commentary on George Floyd and how this program can help be part of that solution to reduce those type of situations. So um, that's something that I'm really proud of. I'm really excited, and it's taken up a lot of energy and thoughts. But it really all started from being a part of that program 2 years ago, or that program that started 2 years ago, which is just I really reflecting on it now with you. I don't know if I've ever done it in this aspect, but to just think what led to those moments and where I was as a man heading into not even realizing, not even knowing that, oh my gosh, in 2 years, I'm going to be in a new city and I'm going to be able
Right.
to still work on this project. I'm going to be in school. I had no intention of ever going back to school when I finished undergrad. So all of those different parts, um, I don't know. I think that's why I guess some people say the name Amazing fits.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a lot to be said about, it's funny because 2 years ago, they might not have approved the project, but now the world's boiling over and, everybody's on fire and it's a different perspective. So whatever, timing's everything, right? I mean, you want to make a difference in the world and you hope your message gets through. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, it wasn't getting through. So people just went ape shit. I mean, they just went nuts. The things that have been going on in this country is just terrible, you know. And it was bad before, just nobody was paying any attention to it, and people are hiding it. And the police, look, I have friends that have relatives in the police force and stuff. And there's good police and bad police. I said, you don't understand. That's not the problem. The problem is there's a systemic problem in the police force in the United States, and the people that are good police, they're like encouraged to keep quiet because they don't want to get in trouble and have to deal with their colleagues or whatever who are bad people. And it's become that kind of a culture, and it's just not good. I mean, we may have come a long way in 200 years, but you could be rich and I could be poor. I wouldn't want to trade places with you because I got friends that are women and they work late at night, right? And they have short hair, so they make sure they wear like big earrings and stuff at night, so at least the police see that they're a woman. I mean, and I live in a white suburban town, whatever. This is in our town. This isn't like in Brooklyn or Harlem or whatever. It's just really very disappointing of the whole thing. And this whole thing with the election and the way people are voting. I mean, the Midwest is bad shit going on. There's some serious racism, serious bigotry against all kinds of groups. I mean, I'm Jewish. People break into temples and shoot people because they're Jewish, and it's like the Holocaust again. I mean, it's all bad stuff, and we gotta make it go away and stand up for these people. That's like it's funny because my wife's half Italian, right? So a lot of them voted for Trump. Now half of them are very embarrassed about it, and then the other half are still like supporting this guy. And I'm like, it has nothing to do with the Republican or Democrat. It has to do with being a decent human being. He's a despicable person. There's nothing. I don't care what political party he's in. I don't care, all that stuff. It's just he's a despicable human being, and it's not what this country should be about. I'm sure Ruth Bader Ginsburg's not too happy rolling over in her grave with this. I won't say it on the air, but this woman that's going to basically take her spot. She might as well be a white conservative man. I mean, with her beliefs, it's just unbelievable. So you'd think it's like we went backwards 30 or 40 years in race relations and things in the last year and a half. It's frustrating. It's disappointing. And I feel like I can't do anything about it. Who am I? Some white Jewish kid from New Jersey? I don't know. It's crazy, but it's like almost the 60s. We got to get in our car. We got to go to the rallies again. There was a Trump parade yesterday in my town. Like I live in New Jersey. It's a blue state, right? It's very democratic, liberal. All these people are driving up in their trucks. I don't even know where these people came from. I don't know if they drove from another state or Pennsylvania. I don't know where they came from. They're all driving up in these pickup trucks and beeping and yelling. People are looking at them like, what are you even doing here? I don't know where these people came from. It's crazy. You empower them. You talk about empowerment. That's what happened. The president empowered these people, and if you really like that, then you just don't care about other people. That's basically what it means. You just don't give a shit. And you're like, I don't care. I only care about myself. And I don't think that's great. You're entitled to be selfish and we all want to protect our own. But at the end of the day, we all got to walk the same streets and deal with the same shit, and just because they can't tell I'm Jewish because it's not like my skin's blue, and you could be singled out. It's not fair, but I love what you're doing. I mean, I like the whole, I mean, you turn yourself around, so you want to help other people turn themselves around, nobody else is going to do it. That's a lot of problems in the inner cities, in the poorer neighborhoods. People leave the neighborhoods, whatever ethnic background they are, or whatever, and they become successful. They don't always go back and help, Like, I got out. Why can't they get out? That's not a good attitude. There's a lot of people that are struggling in situations that they did not create. And they're not empowered enough to like go and learn off the internet or educate themselves. Or that takes a lot to do that, Not everybody does it. People just wander through life. They don't know what to do. So look at New York. I don't know if you've been watching, you haven't been up here, but it's like a ghost town. People aren't, nobody's in the streets, and yeah, it's craziness. So it's unbelievable. You like being in Atlanta though so far? I mean,
I love it.
oh,
I
good.
love it. It's I mean, man, you hit on so many things. So like in the midst of all of this, I recently read the last book that Dr. King published before he was assassinated.
Hmm.
Where do we go from here? Community or chaos? And it's so prophetic. I mean, everything that you just touched on, he basically stated was going to happen. Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, he broke down everything. He broke down how the black man is viewed in a certain way that roots back from slavery that has never really been fixed from a family structure
Right.
perspective. He talked about how he understood why people were so supportive of black power, but he also stated how the use of the word power was going to even make more fearful people. So it
Right.
really,
Create more
even though
problems.
exactly like even
Yeah.
though the thinking behind it was okay, yeah, liberation, but it wasn't really liberation. It was going to create more of a divide. He talked about how in 68, it's like, okay, so you hired one black person. That's not, the job's not done. It's not over. You
No,
don't get a pat in the back.
wasn't like
Like,
we all got
we still
together and
more
said,
work.
let's build a community together. It was like,
Exactly.
oh, you're forcing me to let you in. That was basically the attitude. Look at segregation. Segregation was totally a failure because they didn't desegregate the teachers, right? So then the kids are going to the white communities. And what are the teachers? They don't want anything to do with the kids. They didn't help. Total failure.
Something that you mentioned too is how he kind of wrapped everything up was he used the analogy of, he said, think about it. When you get up in the morning, where's your coffee from? Where are your clothes, the fabrics of your clothing from? Where's your couch from? Who made your car? You're in contact with the world
Right.
before you go to work, but you have this idea that you've accepted that you're just so separate. But
Right.
no,
Xenophobia. We're all
like,
afraid. Yeah.
and yeah, it was like I said, it was, I mean, the opportunity of reading that and how it just played within the timing, and then being down here in Atlanta. Like, people ask me how's Atlanta, I tell them where I'm from. I can't go in Buffalo, New York. I can't go to a professional location and see a large amount of people that look like me.
In Buffalo or
That's
in Atlanta?
in Buffalo. In
Buffalo is
Buffalo,
a small black community,
and
right?
it's more like the movers and shakers. If I go to location A, I'm gonna see three people I know, and those I might see those same three people at location B, location C,
Right.
location D.
It's the same
So
group.
it's like, you know what I mean? It's being recycled. Whereas in Atlanta, I can go to multiple places and I'm gonna see new people every day. And
Right.
I'm not saying that from an aspect of segregation. I'm saying it from an aspect
No,
like
just a bigger black community, right?
it's just it's necessary
Yeah.
it's. I was in a barbershop. This is so ironic. I was in a barbershop maybe 3 weeks ago, and I got a 10-year-old little brother. He was with me that day, and it's five black men in there. One of them is an avid Trump supporter,
Which blows my
and
mind. But I know there's a lot of black people that support Trump. It blows my mind. It's like saying
and
you're
I'm
still in
sitting here,
favor of slavery and you're black.
I'm
Yeah.
sitting here, and I'm mentioning Obama. He's down in him. I'm mentioning Michael Jordan down in him, Will Smith down in him, and I'm just like, wait a second. You, I'm not saying everything Obama did was right, but
No,
I know
of
how
course.
important it was for my 10-year-old little brother to have seen President
Yeah.
Obama,
Talk about
to know
leadership.
that it's a reality,
Possible.
to know that
Right.
it's possible. And I think for me, that's one of my biggest excitements about Atlanta is being able to see that and getting that encouragement and meeting new people that are more like-minded. Because like you said, there are so many of us on this planet that are drifting, wandering. That's
We're
one of my
lost. Yeah.
loss and some of my biggest motivations. That's part of the reason why I went to school. That's part of the reason why the title of my book is Everyone Needs a Hero. Why can't it be you? We're all here for a reason. We all have a purpose, and each and every one of us plays a role in history of our world. So why wouldn't you? And to me,
Right. Doesn't make
I
any
can't
sense,
fathom
right? Yeah.
why wouldn't you want to maximize your role with honor? So yeah, it's a lot.
It's like Jewish people that deny the Holocaust happened. I mean, it's like ridiculous. You can't even have conversations with people like that, though. You can't have a conversation with a friend who's black and supports Trump. It's just a wasted conversation because he's obviously too stupid. I mean, what could even be his motivation? look, I understand Obama was very liberal and there's people that loved him and hated him. And he probably went 10 years ahead in race relations and went 30 years backwards under Trump. But what is he like about? Do you like the fact that he's a criminal? That he brings in people that get in trouble all the time? That he's an idiot? He says
He brought
stupid
up
things all the time.
he brought up an example of, I guess, as far as
I
like
love this.
a bill with that directed his wife and their son of like he had to pay more under the Obama administration than he had to pay as far as health care for his son under Trump. But my like you
But
said
that has
earlier
nothing to do
though,
with Trump. Trump didn't do
that's the
anything
thing.
to the healthcare system.
My thing is like when it comes to this particular election, it's about humanity.
Right.
It's about humanity. I could say this. I am 27. I'll be 30 in a few years. I know for a fact that a 70-plus-year-old white guy cannot represent me properly. Like that's
It's not
it's
even
probably at the
possible.
it's probably at the bottom of the totem pole. Like there's so many other different types of human beings that can properly
That's
represent
for
me, right?
sure.
But at the end of the day, as a human, like
Right.
if you ask me who I'm a human before
Right.
anything. What did I do in Buffalo? I breathed air, thankfully.
Yeah.
Enough air that
That
allowed me to be
helps.
here now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
humanity. And I think a lot of us have the idea where we don't look at us as us. You're different from me, so you're an it. But when you have that level of thinking of looking at somebody as an it, it's really speaking volumes about what you really think of them. Because that's why you can be unaffected when you see George Floyd and you might say, well, blue lives matter. No one ever said that there aren't good cops out there. There are good cops out
Right.
there.
That's not
You
the
know what I
point.
mean? It's the point that why does this guy have the audacity, the carelessness in front
Carelessness.
of a group of people
Right. It's
on camera
irresponsible, isn't it?
to to kneel
Yeah.
8 minutes and 46 seconds and there's other officers right there
Yeah. And
enabling
they
it?
didn't do anything.
That's a problem because he's a human being. That's not
Right.
an insect. There's people that will get conscious about a bug. Oh my gosh, don't kill it. Let the fly
Right.
out. But this is a human.
Yeah.
This is a human being, and I
I know. It
think
blows.
that's
It's unbelievable. But that's, that's what divides this country. That's why it's so divisive right now. Is people don't give a shit about each other. And it's not good. It's like, what was the thing they were saying when Black Lives Matter came out? It was like, well, all lives matter. And a friend of mine said, somebody said, not a really good friend of mine. I said, are you stupid? He's like, what? I go, do you even understand? Like, yeah, all lives matter, but you didn't deal with 200, 300 years of oppression. I mean, so that it's funny because my wife gets into these Twitter wars and stuff or Facebook, whatever, even with relatives of ours. I'm like, honey, don't talk to stupid people. Like, don't do it. You can't have a conversation with people that just, they cried when Rush Limbaugh said that he had cancer. I mean, you can't have those conversations with people. If they were nice enough, they should like write on their forehead, I'm stupid. And then you would know. Just stay away from conversations with people like that.
That's one of the biggest things where I remember I was doing some type of brand ambassador work and I was in a really, really Caucasian area and a guy walks in there, big burly beard. He's probably about 6'4". I look him, he had a Trump hat on. I think he might have had a MAGA hat. I
Yeah,
looked
there
him
you
right in
go.
his eye and said, nice hat.
Yeah.
And it just like I could tell
The
how
smoke coming out of his
uncomfortable he
ears.
was. Like he was cracking his neck and stuff because I wanted him to know, thank you for letting me know. Thank you for telling me, like you said, thank you for letting me know that you're an idiot.
Right.
Thank you. I much
Yeah.
rather you tell me than have certain conversations with me and you use specific verbiage that makes you think that I'm not aware of the subtle shots that you're taking or the subtle ways you're. Thank you for just me. I'm very comfortable with that. Like I appreciate people. If you want to throw the Confederate flag, you want to wear. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know that you don't have the capability of learning. I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Just because saves you a lot of time. I have
You
a
know what I
hat.
mean?
Wait, I got a hat here. Hold on. You see what this says? Can you read that?
Ha.
That says make Donald Trump again. So, John Oliver on HBO, he's one of the liberal commentators like Trevor Noah.
Yes, sir.
So there was this thing that he did. Apparently Donald Trump, like ancestors, a couple generations ago, when they came to this country, their last name was Drumpf. and they had changed it. So he had this hat made, and my friend who owns a hat factory in Newark, he does this kind of embroidery stuff. So he made these things for John Oliver. He gave me one, and it says "Make Donald Drumpf again," meaning change his last name back to the old name. And I have
right?
it. So yeah,
Because he's so against immigrants, right? Ironically.
exactly. We're all immigrants. Unless you're American Indian, everyone else came from somewhere else.
Literally.
And, I mean, I understand black is not everyone came from Africa, but actually they probably did, right? Because anybody that ended up in like the colonial islands who were black came from Africa, right? Didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
mean,
yeah.
and I think that's another factor where, for me, I guess where Trump, some people may not have the same aspect because my reality is, okay, so I got a lot of family that are immigrants. This guy is, what he represents and what he's pushing is firmly against immigrants. I got family. My dad is an immigrant.
Yeah.
My stepmom, my aunts,
Yeah.
uncle, cousins, they weren't all born here. I'm the only one, well, me and then my two siblings, my dad's kids, and then any kids that my cousins have had, the only ones born here in the States from my family. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I I don't
Hey,
know.
you
Let's
wouldn't have been
switch
able to get in now.
topics.
You'd be separated, put in a cage. You don't see they still have
Come
500
on,
kids are trying to find their parents. I mean, come on.
come on. That's families. Like, and I think I don't know. I
That's the
don't
thing.
even want to.
I'm hoping with this election, then we'll get back to your stuff, that it's just like a landslide. I don't know if it's going to be, and I'm really worried about what's going to be the outcome because they won't let us into Canada, so I can't leave. But I mean, Joe Biden. Look, you can agree with his politics or not. He's a good guy. Cares about his grandchildren. He cares about his children. He meets you at an event. He'll call you literally on your phone like 2 weeks later, see how you're doing. I mean, he's a good guy. Trump doesn't do that stuff. Doesn't call his own children. Come on. So it's just a sad commentary where we are nowadays. But now you're young, so you got another 50, 60 years ahead of yourself to change the world. So
Maybe,
hopefully you will.
maybe.
Yeah. So let's go into where your name came from.
All right. So
You weren't
my
born that.
name,
This doesn't say that on your birth certificate, right?
not yet. No, I'm just playing. So my name is actually Aimé Mukendi Jr.
Okay.
Yes, and
Because
Aimé
that's your
means,
dad's name?
yep,
Okay.
and Aimé means love, and sir comes from, so my dad and I, we have this thing where the highest level of respect for someone who identifies as a male is sir. So if a 3-year-old boy holds the door open for me walking into a store, I say, "Thank you, sir." It's like, it's automatic. That, can you pass the salt? Here you go. Thank you, sir. It's automatic. So
Yeah.
sir was just, it's just a part of
Respect.
the respect and the culture, and then just the mentality. And then when I was in high school, one of my a good friend in high school, he said to me one day, he's like, "You should go by Aimezing." Like,
Yeah, that's why you spell it that
Aimezing.
way, though.
Like it really fits. And yeah, and then so with my name already being Aimé, and then he said it, and I said, okay, I'll try it. And when I was in high school, I did a blog that ended up being in the Buffalo newspaper. A few amazing words, blog posts. Like I wrote a blog that made it to the news. I did school newspaper, which was like a commentary, poetry, news type of thing. A few amazing words. When I was in college, I interviewed Woj. I don't know if you're an NBA fan or not,
A little bit,
but
yeah. More so than
2014
baseball. Baseball's boring.
when well, the 24 summer of 2014 when LeBron went back, though, I interviewed Woj on my podcast and made it to sportsillustrated.com, a few amazing
Oh,
words.
nice.
So it always just stuck. And I think a part of it now is like, what Aimézing really represents is how amazing every single person is. It's amazing because we're that one in a trillion sperm that connect with the egg through conception. Like, that's amazing. It's
Yeah. Or
amazing
you
that
wouldn't
through a
be here if that didn't make that connection. Right.
exactly right. It's amazing that through this pandemic that people have been able to still start businesses and find a new part of their hero that they didn't even know existed prior to all of
Yeah,
this.
we
It's
are
amazing.
best when things are at their worst for a lot of us.
So
Hopefully for most of us. Unfortunately, I don't think that's the case. But yeah,
as many as can
as
ride
we
the
can
train,
turn
right?
around. Exactly.
So that's really what Aimezing stands for, and I really just try to live up to that name.
Nice. Because I thought you were like, you could be like an entertainment, like what was the poetry thing? Remember there were people who would go on stage and do like poetry. I think Russell Simmons ran it or something. It wasn't the
Oh,
Def
like Def
Comedy
Jam.
Jam. That was something else. It was on HBO. Different people would get up. It wasn't black. It was all mixed, different kind of people, and
It's
they would
probably
get up
Def
and do
Jam
like
poetry though.
poetry. It was poetry, and they would like it wasn't rap. It was like rapping a poem. There's no music. You know what I mean? It was like,
Yeah.
you're getting your thoughts
Oh
out,
yeah.
and it was like freestyle and poetry. I don't even think they wrote it down. I think they were just making it as a talented people, with a lot to say.
So I guess Sir Amazing, a part of it is that stage name though. So
But you
it's
haven't
funny that
changed
you
it by
bring that up.
law.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You'll do it though. You'll do it. But
Maybe.
is the book written by Sir Aimezing?
So I'll show you right quick.
Okay.
So
Oh,
everyone
your
needs a
real name.
hero.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but Sir Amazing, that's like my
Right.
siramazing.com is my website. Sir Amazing on Instagram, LinkedIn. Um, really, to me, I remember doing a interview maybe last summer,
Uh-huh.
and they were like, "So Sir Amazing is like your superhero name," and I was like,
In 19, you
"Yeah,
mean, summer
yeah,
before.
2019, yeah."
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah, it is.
"Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is." So, um, I like it,
So
and when you
what's
bring up,
your message? Like, what is not um not your real person, your persona, Sir Aimezing. Like what's his message, in terms of getting out to the world?
uh, I think they're intertwined. I think it's the same
Okay.
person. But the message is that there are 7.8 billion people on the planet, but there's only one you, one person with your vision, one person with your dream, one person with your soul, one person with your mind, and one person with your capabilities of achieving what you
Right.
were put on this planet to achieve.
And we can all make a difference, huh? Like you shouldn't
Sir,
feel like you can't. It's always a way,
yes,
especially
sir. Yeah.
nowadays, right? You can have a voice. You could be a thought leader. You can publish things online. You can do a podcast. You still have your podcast too?
So here's the thing. I'm like in transition right now. There's a few things come Q1 2021. We'll see what's on the map, but I'm in a transitional period right now with the
Taking a
podcast.
break, right?
I mean, like before even getting on here, it's a lot of reading for school,
Yeah.
and then getting everything
So
with the
how far are you along?
documentary.
You said you're getting your master's. So
Yeah,
you just started last year?
so I'll be done. I mean, that's an interesting story in itself, but I'll be done August 2021. I'm going straight through.
Oh,
Like I'll have independent study in January, spring, summer next year, and then I'll be done in August. And I was actually looking at this. I didn't officially get accepted into my grad program until August 27th of 2019. The semester started like 2 days later. And it's just interesting because I truly had no intentions of going back to school, but then I heard about a really interesting program. I met with the dean of the school, and he bought into Sir Amazing. He understood everything that I was trying to do, everything I wanted to accomplish, and what I was working on. And he was like, "We want you to be a part of this program." Went through everything that needed to be done, and then yeah, I got
and
accepted
that was in
August
person at
27th.
first, right?
Yeah, so that's the summer 2019 when we still could be, normal humans like the past, where we get to shake hands and not wear masks, we could breathe easier.
Right. Yeah, but that was trying to think. Well, actually, that's not really true. I think my son was already home from college at that point. No, you were able to go in person in August?
August 2019.
Yeah.
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 Well, we met in July of 2019.
You and I?
No. I'm
No.
saying
You're
me and
talking
the
about
dean
at
of the school.
the school, right? Okay. Because
Yeah.
I think
Yes,
here
sir.
we were already shut down in New Jersey by then because it was an outbreak here in New York, Connecticut. Maybe it wasn't so bad down by you guys already yet, right? So you guys weren't shut down yet, but we were already shut down at that
Are you
point.
talking about 2019 or 2020?
I'm talking about 20. What month it is? No, I guess you're right. It was last May, right? No, March of 2020 is when we shut down. Yeah, I'm a year
Yep.
off. Yeah, see, I'm losing my mind. So that's yeah, and then you hit the fall, and then by the next year you were virtual.
Yeah.
See, maybe it affects your mind too, coronavirus. I don't know.
I don't know. It's all there. It's all there. So
All right. Well, this is cool. So so you're going to finish your master's, right? You wrote the book.
hmm
What's the message of the book? It's for empowering like young youth, younger men.
that's the title. I mean, everyone needs a hero. Why can't it be you? It is for everyone. I'm very vulnerable. I release some information that a lot of people never knew in the book. But it's ultimately a blueprint that anybody could utilize to start to craft, to be amazing in their own way.
Right.
And that's really the whole message.
All right, cool. Well, you'll the book's available like on Amazon and stuff. They can get it.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
we'll put it in our little podcast store on our on my
Ooh,
law firm website. So I'll put a link to it. We have one of those,
appreciate it.
Amazon accounts. I think if somebody doesn't buy something soon, they're going to shut us down. So I don't
Ooh,
know how that works, but yeah, we'll put it up there so people can take a look at the book. But I appreciate you very much coming on with me, and